So if you've ever tried mindfulness or meditation, you've probably met the observer, right? It's that calm, detached part of you that just watches your thoughts go by. But what if I told you that observer isn't the finish line? What if it's actually one last, really subtle trick your mind is playing on you? Well, today we're diving deep into that very paradox. And this quote right here, it really gets to the heart of what we're talking about. We so often think the whole point is to get rid of the bad feelings and only have the good ones. But what if the real goal is to totally change our relationship with all of it? To just be present for the entire messy, dynamic, and beautiful experience of being human.
We all know this feeling, this constant swing back and forth between pleasure and pain. It's just part of life. But the really interesting part isn't the swing itself. It's what causes that deep, nagging feeling of suffering. Where does that actually come from?
Well, a lot of ancient wisdom has a fascinating take on this. It says it's not the stuff that happens to us that causes suffering, it's how we react to it. It's that automatic, unconscious habit of desperately craving the pleasant feelings to stay and fighting to push the unpleasant ones away. That mental tug-of-war, that is the real source of our misery. Okay, so what's the most common solution people turn to for this problem? For millions of us, the answer is mindfulness. It's this practice of stepping back from all that mental drama and simply becoming a neutral observer of our own minds. And look, the benefits of doing this are huge. You can't deny it. When you just step back and watch your thoughts without getting all caught up in them, you create space. You finally get a break from that robotic, reactive way of living. It gives you incredible feedback for personal growth and helps you find a deep sense of inner calm. It's powerful stuff. And let's be really clear here, this is an incredibly valuable skill. For so many people, it's a life-changing first step away from being totally controlled by their own minds. But, and this is a big but, it's not the final step. Which brings us to this massive question. When you're the one observing your thoughts, who exactly is it that's doing the observing? And here it is. Here's the twist. That neutral, calm observer we work so hard to create, it can actually become a trap, a final, incredibly subtle hiding place for the ego that can stop our progress dead in its tracks without us even realizing it. See, here's the key insight. That watcher isn't your true fundamental self. It's just a smaller, quieter, less neurotic version of your ego. It's still a sense of I, an identity, this time built around being the one who is so good at meditating. There's this amazing story about the philosopher Ken Wilber. He was in this super deep meditative state, perfectly observing his own experience, when his Zen master told him the observer is the last stand of the ego. Wilber said that in that single instant, something just snapped. His entire observer ego dissolved, and it led to this profound awakening. So, if the observer itself is the final trick, how in the world do you see through it? Well, the answer is to do something that sounds a little crazy. You turn the lens of your awareness around, and you start to observe the observer itself. And you can actually deconstruct this observer just like any other experience. First, you start by noticing the thoughts of the observer. You know, that little running commentary like, am I doing this right? Or, wow, this is going well. Then you notice its emotions. Is there a subtle feeling of blissful peace, or maybe a little bit of frustration with the process? And finally, and this is the interesting one, you notice its physical location. This last one is so subtle, but so powerful. I mean, think about it. Most of us have this physical sensation that we are located somewhere behind our eyes, kind of looking out at the world. But that's just a feeling, right? It's just a collection of physical sensations that our brains have decided is the center of our awareness. It's not some fundamental truth of the universe. So what happens when you calmly and persistently just observe these different parts? The thoughts, the feelings, the location of the observer. The entire structure begins to dissolve. The separation you felt between you and your experience just disappears. There's no longer a meditator who is doing the meditating. There is only the experience itself. And that is where you find a really profound and lasting freedom. All right, so let's bring this all back down to earth. How does this super deep inner work actually help us deal with that pleasure-pain pendulum we started with? Well, it all comes down to breaking our habit of blind reaction. You know that automatic lightning-fast mental reflex we have of either liking or disliking pretty much any sensation that comes up? Well, in some ancient traditions, that has a name, sankhara.
And this reaction, not the sensation or the event itself, is the direct, immediate cause of all our suffering.
So, this leaves us with two very distinct paths. Every single time we react blindly, we're on what you could call the chain of misery. We're just strengthening our old conditioning and creating more suffering for ourselves down the line. But when we choose to just observe with equanimity, with a balanced mind, we're on the path of purification. We stop creating new reactions, which finally allows all that old conditioning to bubble up and dissolve on its own. You know, a really great way to think about this is hidden right there in the word emotion itself. It literally means in motion. Our inner world is just a constant flow, it's dynamic movement. And probably the biggest mistake we make is trying to analyze or control it from some static intellectual place, trying to pin it down. And that brings us right back to where we started. The whole point of all this isn't to become some passionless robot who doesn't feel anything. It's the exact opposite. It's to gain the freedom to feel everything, the joy, the pain, the beauty, the mystery, without being a slave to your automatic reactions about any of it. It's about experiencing the full, rich spectrum of life. So, the next time you sit down to meditate, or even just find yourself observing your mind during the day, I'll leave you with this to explore. Don't just get lost in the movie that's playing on the screen of your mind. Gently, curiously, turn your attention around and ask who or what is the one watching. What you discover in that simple turn might just change everything.